Podcasting between Leeds and London, Interesting Podcast is your indispensable guide to the more interesting things in life. Your hosts are about to take you on a journey through all that they find interesting, curious, helpful, and downright bizarre. And now, here are your hosts, Matt and Rick.
Okay, it's us. We're back, and this is episode 2 of Interesting Podcast, hosted at interestingpodcast.com. Feels a little bit like a second date, doesn't it, Matt?
It does. This is our second outing after our great response to the first episode. So thank you to everybody who's downloaded it, who's been sharing it. I've seen a lot of people on Facebook have been passing it round, sharing it, making comments, which is absolutely great. And again, we want your interaction. We want to know what you think of the show. We want you to get in contact with us. And you can do that in several ways. You can like us on Facebook. We have a fan page, which is just Interesting Podcast. You can tweet us at Interesting Pod. So that's Interesting Pod, not Interesting Podcast. And you can email us. You can email me, which is Matt, M-A-T-T, at interestingpodcast.com, or you can email Rick at RICK at interestingpodcast.com. Let us know your thoughts, what you find interesting, and if you want to give us anything free. This is what we always want. We like free stuff, not stuff that is free, stuff which you can make free for us. So we don't want just free things. We want things of value, but at no cost to us. But we will review them. If you have online training packages, if you have things online, please let us know, and we will do our best to review it for you and tell the world.
Actually, Matt, not giving anything away at this stage because our lips are sealed, but we have already had one or two quite interesting emails about products we can review and also people that we can talk to. And it's people that we can talk to as well that we're very interested in. We've got a number of people that have already got in touch with us, but we're interested in talking to people who are doctors or practitioners, or they work in a particular type of therapy, or they have time management techniques, or any kind of management techniques, or anything that's really interesting, anything that can help you become a better person. Today we've got a great guest coming on later, a guest I've not met before, but is a friend of Matt's, called Hayley Quinn. Matt, who's Hayley?
Hayley, I used to work with Hayley, and I've known her for several years now. She's one of the leading dating coaches in the country, and she's been in so many magazines and newspapers, and she runs courses. She does lots and lots of things, and she's a conversational specialist. So we're going to be talking to her. We've got an interview with her about the role of social media and how that's really impacted on the dating and basically lifestyle in general.
I actually can't wait.
It's going to be absolutely great. So we've got Hayley coming up in just a little while. But tell us, Rick, before we get into the interview with Hayley, how's your week been? What have you been up to? What books, films, TV, theatre? What have you been finding interesting as of late?
Okay, I'm not sure I should tell you what I've been reading this week. I'm a little bit embarrassed about what I've been reading this week. I'm reading The Hunger Games.
Terrible.
What, the book?
Yep.
I'm really enjoying it. I have to say, I'm really enjoying it. It's one of those things where, I admit I read all the Harry Potters as well. In fact, I've read some of them in French. But I think there's nothing to fear from liking a good fiction book. A good friend of mine put me onto them. I bought 3 in a pack, and I started reading the first one. You know, the story's a good story. They're well written. They're not too taxing. It's quite interesting. I'm really enjoying it.
Do you also like stuff like Twilight and other pointless children's books about fantasy rubbish for angry teenagers?
Don't be mean, Matt. Of course I don't like Twilight. Who does like Twilight?
Quite a few people. actually. But you read the Harry Potters, did
Yeah,
you?
yeah, you can take the piss. I think the thing is, Matt, and I think we are both very similar in this. That I love learning stuff, and I am a bit of an information junkie. And I've got a to-read list of books that is longer than than the speed at which I can read them. And because of that, a lot of what I read are non-fiction books, and I like things that I learn things. But fiction is very different, and I sometimes am a little bit sad that our time on this planet is so short. I can't read fiction with the same enthusiasm I read the non-fiction. But every now and then when I do read a fiction book, I really enjoy it, and I really kind of enjoy the escapism it gives you kind of before you go to bed, or the kind of, the relaxation from reading fiction you don't get from non-fiction. Okay, The Hunger Games isn't the most highbrow book in the world, but it's quite interesting.
How far through the book are you?
I'm 100 pages from the end, so don't tell me what happens.
Okay, I won't ruin it for you. I think it'll do a perfectly good job of that itself. I found that when I went to the cinema to go see The Hunger Games. Terrible decision, and I watched the whole thing. I didn't walk out, unlike many of the people who were in the cinema with me. I decided I want to watch the whole thing, so when I moan about it, I do it with integrity of how much I disliked the film. I wanted to have a full, complete. I wanted to see the whole thing. I thought this film can't be this bad. It was that bad. With the film was nearly 3 hours. They didn't even get into that arena until gone 2 hours or something. It wasn't violent enough to be an 18. It wasn't. I just found it, to be honest, quite boring. And I actually find it quite interesting that in this modern day world of CGI and special effects, that a story as boring and as slow paced as The Hunger Games has actually been as successful with children, because it was a 12.
Yeah, but I mean, the story in the book is a good story. I quite like it. It's been well developed, and perhaps it's kind of lost in translation into the film. But at the end of the day, the target audience for the book is 12-year-olds, and so they couldn't make a film that was, rightly as gory or as bloody or as war focused, that would put it into the kind of the 15 or the 18 category, because that would completely smash its target audience.
Okay, I think we can both agree that The Hunger Games is not interesting. So moving swiftly on.
Well, I tell you, I've got another one for you, and this might even be more interesting. I help out at the West Yorkshire Playhouse, as you know, and this week I had the occasion to see Loserville. Now, I don't really know much about Loserville other than what I read in the blurb, and I certainly haven't gone and done any post-show research. But to cut a long story short, this was a musical, I believe written by the younger member of Busted, loosely tied to one of their albums, starring Gareth Gates and Lil Chris. Do you remember him? Checking it out. You know him, he was in it. And, okay, what did I think? Well, I'm quite fortunate in my life that I've seen quite a few plays. This wasn't the best I've ever seen.
Was it the worst?
Probably wasn't far off.
So, let me get this right. It was written by that James Bourne. I think he's called James Bourne, isn't he? James Bourne from Busted, who went off to be in Son of Dork.
Right. The lead character's called Dork, so that would make sense.
The play is based upon Son of Dork's album of the same name of Loserville. I think. I may be incorrect here. Starring Gareth Gates and Little Chris.
Yeah.
And you saw it in Leeds. Yeah. Not any part of that description is pleasing to me. I can't think of a worse night out.
Oh no, hang on, Matt, because I think you're being rather judgmental here. I haven't yet described the plot. I haven't yet described the plot to you. So, imagine...
Oh, is it more complex than The Hunger Games?
Not really, no. Imagine the Big Bang Theory. And that kind of Beauty and the Geek play that we have. Well, imagine that has a bastard love child with Grease, the musical. So you've got your jocks and your kind of your American 1970s teen angst running through it. And imagine those two fused together in a play where essentially the narrative centres around the principle of one guy develops a network connection between one computer and another, and therein lies the essential diegesis that underpins Loserville.
I literally want to die. I couldn't think. I just it's like somebody has gone inside my head and created and brought to life my nightmare. So, anything else this week, or should we move on to Hayley?
Yeah, let's move on to Hayley.
Today's guest is an old friend of mine, a girl called Hayley Quinn. Hayley Quinn's a dating coach and has been working with men and women for the past few years now. So we're going to be talking about how social media has had an impact on dating in the last few years and what we can do about it. So Hayley, are you there?
I am definitely here. Hey, Matt.
Hello, Hayley. Hayley, give us a quick synopsis about who you are and what you do.
Oh, I hate this bit. Okay, my name's Hayley Quinn. I'm a leading female dating coach in the UK. I have previously worked with some of the big companies in America as well, and I'm published in Cosmopolitan, Ask Men, this month in Women's Health. So tons of articles out there, and I also produce iPhone apps around dating. So this is all very appropriate, I think, for our topic of discussion today.
It is all very appropriate for the topic of discussion, and also my co-presenter, Rick. Say hello.
Hi, Hayley.
Hey, Rick.
Okay, so let's get into it. Hayley, what dating these days is completely different to when I was at school, sort of 15 years ago. Social media, Facebook, I was going to say MySpace, but nobody's on MySpace. But Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of these things have only come in really in the last few years, and they've had a massive impact on not only dating, but I believe in social interaction in general. So from somebody who works within the industry, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm from the generation as well where I remember I used to have a mobile phone I switched on once a day to check my text messages, and that obviously doesn't happen anymore. With mobile phone technology, I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is because we're constantly networked up to other people and constantly contactable now, what that's caused is that people don't stand by their commitments nearly as much as they used to. A lot of our clients, people will come to me because they're fed up of people flaking on them, which is just the process when at the very last minute someone will drop out on you or try and reschedule a commitment. And you couldn't have done that before mobile phones. You know, if you made a date, you had to stick to it. And so I think this causes loads of weird things, like apart from people flaking, people also gazump each other now. So they might have one commitment in their diary, another one will come in that they consider or perceive to be cooler, and that means they'll ditch people at the last minute. So in a way, our respect for meeting people and people's time, I think, has gone down. That would be one of the main things I would say with related to mobile phones, how things have changed.
Well, Matt and I would say, I mean, when we first started dating, when we were at school, we didn't even have mobile phones, and there was nothing more terrifying in the world than having to ring a girl on her landline and her dad answering the phone.
Oh.
That is one of the scariest moments that you can ever encounter as a teenage boy. Not that there's not enough angst already around the fact that you've actually rung the girl, dad answers, and if you get a result, which was rare in my case, but if you do get a result, you're committed because dad's on the case.
Yeah, and you know what? That's going to be a much better result and a much firmer commitment. I think, you know, a lot of the time actually giving someone a call is one of the best things you can do. It's, you know, it's old school and you can actually get to know someone that way. Dropping someone a line on Facebook, to me, just doesn't seem to have the same romance about it. And I think it's much more impersonal as well, and people treat it with a much more indifference.
But Facebook and Twitter, these are social media profiles, and they're things we build to promote ourselves. They're adverts. They're not real. People don't date through social media, do they?
I think, you know what, I think people try. I wouldn't say it's the most effective thing to do. I'm kind of a fan of meeting people in real life, whether it's at like networking events or just approaching someone you see that you think's attractive on the street. But as a woman, and obviously I have a slight social media presence because of my job, I get a lot of unsolicited messages on my Facebook profile from guys doing some kind of mass marketing thing, saying, "Hey, cutie, how are you?" with a big smiley face. I don't know these people. I've been invited to tons of events and parties via Twitter, and I find that bizarre as well, because I'm a face-to-face kind of person. So I think this whole culture of us self-publicizing and having to create this image for ourselves rather than being our true self is a kind of a strange thing to have happened, and that's only been increased by things like Facebook and also the prevalence of like dating website profiles. I mean, they've taken personal ad to a whole new kind of dimension and level.
Do you know what I found quite sad? I went to a party the other day, and I went into the kitchen, and there were 7 people. Every single person was on their phone. Nobody was talking. Every single person in the kitchen was just on their phone, checking Facebook, checking in, messaging, doing something, and nobody was talking to each other. And I just thought, have we gone so backwards that we think that we are more connected than ever because we have all these mediums to be connected through, yet we've lost our basic skill of actual face-to-face communication. The only way we can communicate now is via tweeting or via Facebook or liking something. And I think it's sort of quite sad that you put people together in a room now and they don't know what to do.
But I sometimes think that playing with the phone is almost a nervous invitation to start a conversation. It's not actually true communication. It's just waiting to be talked to, isn't it?
I'm not sure about that. I think that I have to work a lot teaching people conversation skills, because it's starting to feel like a lost art. Even my grandmother was commenting to me recently about how she saw a couple on a date and they were sat at opposite sides of the table, kind of texting or tweeting one another. And I think that's a shame. I think that it takes a lot of confidence to have rung someone's house up and asked them out on a date and run the gauntlet of maybe their dad will answer the phone. And I think this kind of playing it safe, more indirect methods of communication aren't so effective. And I think it's much better to build things in real life. And also it's a basic respect issue, I think, as well. Like, there's no way if I sit down with someone who's a friend that I'll be on my mobile phone. You know, whoever I'm with in the moment has to be most important. And if you're one of those people that can't leave the mobile phone alone, then you should play, you can play games with this. Like, if you're having a dinner party, you all put your mobile phones in the middle of the table, and they're allowed to bleep and ring away, and you're not allowed to touch them. And the first person who has to pick up the phone picks up the bill. I think that's a fair thing to do, to try and break that habit. But you know what? Even I have to admit, like, in the morning, the first thing I do when I wake up is I check my emails. And I think that our culture has become a lot more kind of like we feel like we're on demand all the time, but in return we're also a lot more demanding. I think people are pickier. I think people see people as potentially more disposable. God, this is sounding really awful, but I think it's the truth, than they did historically. Like, I think that it's much easier to network up with old friends and make new ones, even if the friendships are to a degree superficial. And I think that means that we value the friendships and the relationships we have maybe slightly less than we did in the past.
Couldn't you look at it, though? I mean, if people are connecting more and that things are becoming more temporary and more superficial, that might mean that people are having more dates and they're becoming more experienced. And doesn't that make them better daters and better lovers at the end of the day?
I think that's a quality versus quantity kind of issue. I would say, like, for instance, the London dating economy is becoming a lot more like how New York was, where I used to live for a bit. That means that people will often feel comfortable dating multiple people at a time, which is fine. I'm definitely not against that. But what it does lead, though, my point being, Matt, to get you such a filthy mind out of the gutter, Mr. Kendall.
I do know, Hayley. That's I can't be quiet.
Long-term boyfriend, thank you very much. No, the point is that if you're in London and you know realistically that you could go on a date or maybe even 2 dates a day with an eligible person forever and not run out of people, then maybe it makes, you're more picky, you're more likely to cheat or see multiple people at once. I think you're less likely to commit. And you have to make a judgment call about whether that's a positive or a negative change in society.
Okay, we're running out of time here, Hayley. So if somebody is looking to start dating and they want to find something a bit more a bit more genuine, what would be sort of your top tips if somebody wants to start dating now, say they're out of a relationship and they want to actually meet people? The last 30 seconds or so, what are some top tips from yourself?
I think that you can leverage social media and social networking to do real life things. Like Meetup is fantastic, tons of groups on there. Go to places which involve networking and meeting people with common interests.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I also think shut up. There's also some great online dating websites which run real life events where you actually get to meet and mingle people rather than having to just look at a profile on the internet. I think most of the stuff that you can do, though it's good to have an internet dating profile, though it's good to be doing lots of different things via social media, I always think the best lessons and the best practice and the best experiences are the real life ones. So the more that you can transfer and do things in the real world, the better.
Yeah, I've always found that speed dating is worth a month of online dating. In one evening, you get to meet sort of 10, 15, 20 people, and I just find that much more valuable than spending so much time sort of back and forth with emails. Rick, do you have any final questions before we let Hayley go?
Just one quick question from me. Hayley, you said you've got a long-term boyfriend.
I do.
Do you still hate the Daily Mail for writing, "I've become so good at the dating game, I'm addicted to it, meet the matchmaking expert who cannot hold down a boyfriend"?
Oh, I love that. I love that unauthorized, completely made up Daily Mail article on me. That was an amazing piece of quality journalism. Actually, I have to say, like, if you look at the article now online, I went through the Press Complaints Commission. It took a very, very long time, but they had to remove all the quotes because they couldn't substantiate any of them. Like, I'm not going to lie, I'm a believer in dating people and enjoying life until you meet someone that's good for you. But I'm also think that the biggest adventure and the most interesting thing is trying to make a successful relationship and trying to make that work. And that's a lot more challenging than just finding people to meet for a coffee. That's like relatively
I particularly like the quote that you've kept a diary of all your dates, work and personal, and you call it your sexcapades.
I do have a diary, but I'm not publishing it.
Hayley, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us.
No problem. It's been fun, guys.
Take care. Bye.
What's your website, Hayley, just in case anybody wants to have a look more?
Right, well, thanks. I think they're going to be really terrified now. It's www.hayleyquinn.com. Check it out. Lots of useful articles giving practical advice and tips, I think.
And it is a great website. I joke, of course. Thanks, Hayley.
See you later.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, so wasn't Hayley an interesting guest?
She was so interesting, Matt, and I suspect it's not the first time we'll have her on Interesting Podcast. If, she's got more time to come back and talk to us, I think we could have talked forever, really.
I know. We are trying to limit these interviews to about 10 minutes, but she's somebody who, quite obviously, we could have spoken to at length. So hopefully she'll become a regular contributor to the show, and we'll speak to her again in the future. So when
it's really interesting the point she raised as well. I mean, things are very different now as to how they were, and social media does play a different role in our lives. We do date differently, we interact differently. Everybody, kind of the whole way we talk to each other is very different.
I think, I absolutely agree. I think that the way that people speak to each other, one thing that annoys me is like text speak and very, very kind of short, superficial conversations. Instead of actually meeting people one-on-one, this whole social media, the Facebook, the Twitter kind of way of communicating, I think it really is sort of killing the art of conversation, like Hayley was saying.
Have you ever dated through social media?
I've done a bit of online dating a few years back. It was all right. Oh, yeah. So when I was in Manchester, I knew this guy who ran a speed dating event, which I went down to. In fact, one of my good friends met his now wife at the speed dating event. In fact, I met his wife 3 minutes exactly before he did. So, but I prefer speed dating to online dating because I think that you get so much more said and done, and I just think it's a much better medium to meet people face to face. I'm always about face to face meetings as opposed to internet dating. I'm not a massive fan of internet dating. I completely understand why people do it. I think it's more for the convenience, but I think that with internet dating, the best thing to do is meet people as soon as possible, rather than spending a lot of time investing. That's all we do. If we have time to invest. So if you invest in online dating, and if you meet that person and there's no interest, there's no spark, you have wasted essentially quite a bit of time.
Well, you're a lucky man, aren't you? Because your work brings you into contact with very beautiful women.
It does. It does. I get to meet a lot of women. I do. So no, I like dating though. I genuinely like dating. I like female company. I like male company as well, but I do like female company. I like going out. I love dating.
Do you have a type other than people that are out of your league?
I always date out of my league. I always. It's like, of course I date out of my league. I don't want somebody in my league. I want somebody.
Imagine that.
That would be like Susan Boyle or something. No, she's rich now. Susan Boyle's out of my league. What am I saying?
Beautiful inside.
Yeah, no, she's crazy as well, isn't she? No, I always, obviously, I try and date the best people possible because I'm a bit of a chancer in that way. You may as well. But my sort of perfect woman, petite brunette. All of my exes, all of my partners, they've all been quite petite brunettes. That is my.
Really? All of them.
Yeah.
No big girls, no tall girls, no blondes.
I've never dated a girl taller or heavier than me, and I think that's
really?
The thing.
Well, fortunate.
Yeah. So no, I've never dated a girl taller than me. I've never dated a blonde girl. I've never dated a redhead. All of my dates, all of my girlfriends, all of my past exes have.
Is there any reason for that? Is it just?
No, I don't know. I just find myself naturally gravitating more towards brunettes than blondes. I don't know why. I'm sure there are many interesting blonde girls out there who are my type personality-wise, but for some reason fate has not brought me together with those girls as of yet.
Now, I think we should conduct a scientific experiment.
I like science.
I think we should test the theory. Are you compatible or incompatible with blonde girls? Is there a reason you've never had a date with a blonde girl?
I like I say, I don't think there is a reason. I just, my taste, and my taste can change, and I'm not saying it's a rigid thing, but my taste thus far has always been petite brunettes. That's my particular take.
Okay, let's make it our mission to try and get you a date with a blonde girl. I am thinking, a small ad, let's put an ad out and let's see who responds to it.
A small ad is in Lonely Hearts column.
That's it, exactly. Let's put one out. Would like to meet blonde girl.
For scientific experiment.
Would like to meet blonde girl for experiment.
No, for science, not just for experiment.
For scientific experiment on dating.
You're writing this down, aren't you, Rick?
Yes, I am writing this down.
Okay.
So what else? What else do you need in a girl? That's a bit short so far.
Okay,
what are your requirements?
They have to be funny.
Funny, okay.
They have to be sarcastic.
Sarcastic?
They have to be rather positive. And I don't mean really annoyingly positive. I mean, I really can't stand negative people. I'm a therapist. I have to deal with a lot of negativity all the time. So I like.
Do you think there's an allure to being a therapist? Do you think it's sexy? Do you think if we say you're a hypnotherapist, that will let's put it, hypnotherapist. Hypnotherapist seeks sarcastic blonde girl for scientific experiment. We need to work on the wording.
We need to work on the wording, absolutely, because it sounds quite bizarre. We can't take an advert out in a paper. Let's bring it up to date. Let's. How else can we do it?
Oh, we'll use one of the dating sites. There are plenty of London dating sites.
All right, okay. Yeah, I'm bang up for that. So I'm going to go out with a blonde girl who is blonde. I want her to live here. I don't want her just to be here for a week or a tourist, and I actually want her to know London.
Okay.
Has to be sarcastic. Has to be fun. Yeah, sarcastic, very important. Has to challenge me in that sense of sarcasm. And they have
Okay.
to have a good sense of humour. So if I do make fun at them, they're not just going to cry, because that would be... Because I constantly say the worst thing.
Yeah, and actually, you can be quite mean, can't you, Matt?
I'm awful.
Matt,
Really?
Matt, I'm gonna stop you right there. I've got a plan. I'm gonna have a quick chat with somebody.
Who?
I'm gonna speak to Elena.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna see what she thinks. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be back. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, is that Elena?
Yeah, hey.
Elena, hi. It's Rick here. Look, I've got a plan. You know Matt, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put a free ad out to try and find Matt a blonde girlfriend. Can you help?
Yeah, sure.
Now, first, before I start, what colour's your hair?
Blonde.
Blonde, that's good, that's good. Now, we were just talking, Matt can be quite nasty, can't he?
Oh my god, yeah.
What kind of things does he say to you, Elena?
Shall I say them, yeah?
Yeah, come on.
I don't know. That's that basically I have to have a nose job.
Oh, he doesn't say that to your face, does he?
Yeah, he does.
Can he be nice?
Yeah, he can be very nice. He's very, he's caring, and if something happens, he's always there to help. But he can be very nice too sometimes. Sorry.
So what can we write in this advert that would make people respond to it?
Oh. Okay, maybe. Seriously, I'm so bad with adverts, but I think maybe something like caring guy looking for blonde.
Can I tell you what I've got so far? What do you think of this? We've got a hypnotherapist would like to meet blonde girl for scientific experiment, must be funny and sarcastic and enjoy doing things in London.
Okay. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
going to work, isn't it?
Okay,
That's perfect.
Sounds okay. Sounds
Anything to
creepy,
add?
but okay.
Sounds what?
Sounds a bit creepy, but okay.
Well, Matt's not creepy, is he?
Oh, no, Matt. Well, I don't know.
Okay, no, I'll add that. That's good. Not creepy. Not creepy. Okay, Elena, thanks very much for your help. I'm going to scoot off.
Yeah, it's fine. You're welcome. See you.
Matt,
Yes, Rick.
Elena said you were creepy.
Elena is lucky to know me.
Right, but is it true that you tell her that she needs a nose job?
Have you seen her nose?
No, but it's not very nice, is it?
Exactly, that's why she needs it fixing. So, yeah, no,
But what she said, our advert so far, we've added to it. She said you were creepy, but that we should point out you're not. So what we've got is would like to meet blonde girl for scientific experiment, must be funny, sarcastic, and enjoy doing things in London, not creepy. And she says that will do the trick.
I think that if you have to say that you're not creepy... Do you know? Well, okay. So she said I was or wasn't creepy. Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Well, I asked if you were creepy, and she kind of implied that you were, but that we should say that you weren't.
Oh my god, I take her out all the time. I can't. Oh.
She did also mention that you were kind, caring, and helpful, but I don't think that's necessary for the small ad per se.
No, we'll stick with creepy. So how are we going to do this, Rick? What's going to happen?
Okay, well, we're going to put an ad out. Let's find a site. We'll put an ad out. We'll direct to it through our Facebook page, through the Interesting Podcast website, and through the Twitter page as well. So once the ad's up and running, you'll be able to see it on those pages. If you know anybody that might like to respond, you can win a date with Matt. You are a catch, aren't you?
Don't hate,
So,
Rick, appreciate.
If this was speed dating and you had 30 seconds to try and convince somebody to come on a date with you, what would you say?
Okay. Okay, if we
Gonna time
on
you.
a
30
date-
seconds go.
Okay, right. Hi. What's your name? How long have you been hit? Oh, okay. Serious. Okay. Oh, I'm not good at this. I'm not doing well. Just tick me. Yeah, let's have kids. Let's get married. If we go out on a date, or when we go on a date, hypnosis trick. It won't be a pressure date. It won't just be sitting there having a drink. We'll actually go out and do something in London. I love doing things where we're just going to have fun. So let's not make it really formal. Let's just go out for a chat. I need you to be blonde in the name of science. This is actual
Seconds to
science.
go.
It's actual science now. So yeah, let's go out on a date. You be blonde. I'll be me. We'll report on it, and hopefully it
That'll
will
do. That's your time. I think you did really rather well. I can't see what's going to be the problem. Expect the floodgates to open.
I think the main problem in this whole dating scenario is just going to be my personality. Apart from that, I think it's plain sailing from there. So if you're listening and if you're blonde, I must point out you also have to be a girl. So I don't want any blonde guys from Scandinavia emailing me in. If you're a blonde girl and you want to take this is to do with actual science. This is a proper scientific test of can I date a blonde girl.
If you would be happy to talk about it, the experience on a podcast, that would be an advantage, but not essential.
Not essential, but quite essential, because that is the whole. We need evidence.
Yeah, we'd find a way. We'll find a way.
We will find a way. So yeah, So we're going to go onto one of these dating sites and make me a profile. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, this is going to be an interesting foray into the unknown. I very much look forward to it. Why not? You only live once. Well, Rick, I think we've had another cracking episode. Again, please get in contact with us. You can contact us to tell us what you like, what you find interesting. Like our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/interestingpodcast.
Tweet us at interestingpod.
And you can email us. I'm Matt, MATT, at interestingpodcast.com.
I'm Rick, RICK, at interestingpodcast.com.
Please spread the love, share this with other people, and we will report back in the very near future on my blonde date and more interesting content.
The adventure begins.
Thanks for listening to Interesting Podcast with Matt and Rick. Obviously, any views expressed herein are those of the hosts and no one else. If you like what you just heard, please share the website www.interestingpodcast.com with your friends, family and colleagues. You can subscribe, listen to the archive podcast and get in touch. Do you have something interesting to say? We'd love to hear from you. Get in touch. Tweet us at InterestingPod and like our Interesting Podcast Facebook page. Until next time.